And I've invited Pauline, who is, as I named, Love's program coordinator. She's based in Kenya, to share more about the importance of food security and Love's agriculture initiatives. Pauline is a key facilitator in supporting our farm programs at all locations, but especially at Hope for South Sudan and Our Father's Cleft. And so, Pauline, thanks for being here. And can you first share with us about the food insecurity that the people of Sudan and South Sudan are facing and why this leads to greater rates of exploitation and trafficking?
Oh, thank you so much, Audrey, and thank you everyone who's on this call. We're grateful that you made time to be here with us. So what we're looking at food insecurity, we can look at it first at a global scale. And, according to the United Nations, about 2.4 billion people experience moderate or severe food insecurity globally, and 3.1 billion cannot afford a healthy diet. And so many children under 5 suffer from malnutrition. So when we come down to, our neck of the woods where we operate in Sudan and South Sudan, it is also an ongoing pandemic where, according to the World Food Program, about 18 million people are facing acute food insecurity in Sudan, which is about 37% of the population. And 7.1 million people are also facing severe food insecurity in South Sudan, and 6.5 million children are facing malnutrition. So when we're looking at these numbers, there's a 37% population in Sudan and more than half of the population in South Sudan. It just leads them to higher risk of exploitation and trafficking, because these people are preyed upon with the promise of more access to food. So traffickers go to these very vulnerable people and offer quote unquote solutions of trying to help them earn an income and become food secure. So these vulnerable people are then either smuggled or trafficked across borders, and therefore have no legal recourse in the places that they are trafficked to, because one, they are unfamiliar with the legal systems of these countries, and two, they are afraid of, coming forward because one, they are afraid of being sent back to the very problem they were running away from, or two, also facing legal recourse by being illegal immigrants in these countries. Next slide, please. So in last key agenda of empowering communities, we operate in Sudan and South Sudan to, one, end hunger and human trafficking, where in Sudan, one, we have a full-time 3 agriculture staff and about 30 consistent casual laborers in the 2023 production period, where we cultivated over 50 acres of land. And then when we move to South Sudan, we have the empowering leaders through nutrition smart agriculture in collaboration with Rise Against Hunger, where we support 23 full-time agriculture nutrition staff and 30 farmer field school participants who are engaged in sustainable agriculture practices over 120 acres. So the staff and farmer field school participants in South Sudan are trained on sustainable agriculture practices and are encouraged to apply the same in their farms. So when we the Farmer Field School Participants program, we started it in 2024, and 90% of these participants are women who get support through the community extension officer who trains them 4 days a week, the Hope for South Sudan farm, and then supports them 1 day a week at their own homes. So this initiative ensures that, one, the children at the safe centers have enough nutritious meals. Two, the community gets knowledge through the community empowerment programs, and work toward ending hunger and making them less susceptible to exploitation and trafficking. And three, the community also gets empowered through income generation, where they can, earn their own income through selling surplus, and also the income and informal education through the training programs. Next slide, please. So as you can see in that slide, these are community farmer field school participants who are receiving an informal education and training to help empower them in agriculture and nutrition. Next slide, please. So one of our major programs in South Sudan is empowering leaders through nutrition smart agriculture, which is dubbed ELNA, which is a collaborative program between Lift Up the Vulnerable and Rise Against Hunger. So the program aims at enabling Hope for South Sudan to fulfill most of its nutritional needs through own production by teaching conservation agriculture techniques and implementing nutrition smart agriculture programming. So through the implementation of this program, we aim to ensure that the Safe House and school are achieving food security. We improve the nutrition of the staff and children, and also ensure economic independence. So again, through this program, Hope for South Sudan has been and continues to receive training to build capacity in conservation agriculture techniques, which improves the applied agriculture practices, which now translate to increased crop yields and diversification, thus ensuring that there's food and nutrition security, and also ensuring that we build capacity for the nutritional well-being for the children and staff. One of the ways we do this is to incorporate a behavior change communication, which ensures lasting and impactful outcomes. So why we chose these locations is, one, the area has so much agricultural potential. And two, the family dynamics of the area are very integral in ensuring that these programs continue. In these areas, we find that most men are soldiers and thus are away from home for months at a time. And even when they are home and work as the soldiers, they go for months without pay. And thus they leave the women at home with the children whom they have to feed and educate. So having 90% of our farmer field school participants as women, as you can see on your right-hand side, that really helps ensure that there is community empowerment, and the children and women in these areas are safe from exploitation and trafficking. So since the beginning of this project, we have had tremendous improvement in children's health. So when this project, at the onset of this project, we had 25 malnourished children, and currently we have none. The second thing is we have increased agricultural diversity. So before we started the ELNA program, Hope for South Sudan was only producing maize, some fruit and vegetables on approximately 20 acres of land. But since the inception of ELNA, Hope for South Sudan is growing over 30 crops comprising of leafy greens, we have vegetables, we have tubers, we have cereals, we have fruit, we're keeping cattle for milk, and we also have a beekeeping project. Number three, we have increased food availability. So again, before the inception of ELNA, the highest record was 4 tons of maize. But since the inception of ELNA, the team has achieved a cumulative production of 122.7 tons of leafy greens, vegetables, tubers, cereals. We have produced over 2,000 liters of milk and 380 liters of honey and 45 fish. We have also generated some income where before Elna, we had no income generating activities. But in 2023, the team sold 380 liters of honey, making $950. There are also agriculture, kitchen, protection, and farmer field school participants who are earning directly from the project. Next slide, please. So when we're talking of the farm, there's a lot that goes on with the farm. As I mentioned, we have 23 permanent staff on the farm, where we have a farm manager, his deputy, their assistants. We have a tractor driver. We have 3 staff who deal with the livestock, 2 as herders and 1 as an oxen trainer. We also have farm hands and kitchen staff. So previously, we had been using casual labor for the farm operations, especially during the weeding period. But this year, we have taken a different approach, and we have the farmer field school participants, who are 30 of them, again, 90% of them women. So there is an entire array of activities that go on during the production season. So we start with the planning, as with any project, where we have the Rise Against Hunger technical team, the Love Programs team, and the Hope for South Sudan implementing team. So we start with the planning, with the farm tools and budgets before the hard work begins. So the hard work involves first getting seeds and tools shipped from Kenya to South Sudan, because of the disruption with the war, we are not able to source these items in the country, so we have to ship them in from Kenya. So then we go into the plowing and the harrowing. So this has been done by tractors, and because of our oxen trainer, we now have oxen also doing some plowing this year. So while previously we were doing all our plowing and harrowing using the tractor, this year we're only doing 80 acres of plowing and harrowing using tractors and 34.7 acres using the oxen. This is in an effort to improve and retain the soil health. So the plowing and harrowing process takes about 2 months. The implementing team then plants seed using pit and line planting and other conservation methods to maximize land utility. And again, the hard work is they weed every 3 weeks, because this is a tropical area, because there's some heat and there's rain. So the weeds really sprout out very fast. So it's done in a 3-week period, 3-week intervals. And then for the main crops, we harvest toward the end of the year. So at the end of the year, we have an array of harvesting practices where the harvest is taken from the field. It is dried and sorted and weighed and handed over to the store for storage for the children and staff, and also for sales. So from the kitchen staff and other nutritional staff, they get this food from the main store, which then they cook on a modern stoves for the children and staff at the institution. Again, while the main crops are growing in the field, there are other activities going on every single day. For instance, there's the vegetables and leafy green planting. This is done continuously throughout the year. And the excess is often dried using solar dryers and consumed during the dry months. So the solar dryers are a clean energy technology that harnesses solar energy to dry vegetables, greens, fruit for preservation by reducing the moisture content and increasing their shelf life. This is often very critical for us during the dry periods where we cannot grow these vegetables. Now, number two, we have orchard maintenance. Again, it happens throughout the year. We have fruit harvesting and consumption. And our orchard has mangoes and oranges and lemons, guava, bananas, and plantain, and some sugarcane as well. Then we have the livestock rearing. Again, it's an annual process where the livestock team takes care of these animals daily throughout the year. So we have 22 cattle, 49 goats, and 6 sheep, and 7 of the lactate, and we have 7 of these cattle are lactating and are milked in the morning and the evening, and this milk is fed to the children. The other project that goes on throughout the year is the beekeeping project. So the team consistently monitors and maintains the beehives. So we can go to the next slide. So as you can see on your left, those are vegetables. And again, these happen throughout the year and are intercropped with bananas just to make sure that the bananas are getting, irrigated as the vegetables are being grown during the dry periods, just to make sure that there is consistent vegetables and fruit for the children. And we can see a young child there on our bottom right being fed some nutritious beans. On our next slide, I think it's 2 slides down where we have an array of fruits and vegetables. We'll come back to this in a minute. Just one more, Ashton. Yes, perfect. That one. So when all this is from our farm, where we have a diverse range of crops in the farm. So we have bananas there as fruits. We have the okra. We have the tomatoes. We have some gentleman over there cleaning cereals, and we have tomatoes, eggplant, and African eggplant, which are a bit different from the eggplant. And the kids love the diversity the farm offers to their diet. They enjoy the fruit and constant nutritional food from the farm. They enjoy having cassava and beans. When the cassava is ready, they enjoy fresh maize on the cob and other various fruits offered to them. They also enjoy lemonade from the fresh lemons made from the orchard. So in 2023, we had some of the most productive seasons yet, where our most productive and delicious treat was 27,970 kilograms of mangoes. That is almost 14,000 mangoes from the orchard, which is the biggest orchard in the region. At the same time, we had 17,573 kilograms of cassava, which is a tuber like a yam or sweet potato. We also had 11,343 kilograms of sorghum, which is a cereal that is used in most meals as a base, like rice or maize. We had 7,862 kilograms of maize, 3,584 kilograms of pigeon peas, 3,450 kilograms of oranges, 2,261 kilograms of bananas, and 350 liters of honey. So for the first time ever, as Audrey mentioned, South Sudan produced 75% of its food consumption needs. And we're on track to reaching 100% in the next 2 years. So this program is really impactful to the children and the community. If we could go back to 2 slides over, Ashton. So we have served 315,854 meals in 2023. 282,000 of these meals were fed to the children. So the nutritious meals have had a great impact on these children. And I would like us to look at the young lady on the left in red trousers. That is Mary. So while Mary came to the institution over a decade ago, she was one of those severely malnourished children, and she stayed longest on our malnutrition chart. So through the nutritional program, now Mary is healthy and thriving. And well, in 2023, while Love started a youth running club in all institutions, a club that offers running activities, sports therapy, and mentorship, Mary joined it at Hope for South Sudan. In August, when Love hosted an inaugural Hope for South Sudan marathon, Mary placed 5th in the marathon, having run 5 kilometers on a Maram road in under 30 minutes with no shoes. So she caught the eye of the national athletics teams, who invited her to take part in the national athletics competition in Juba later in the year. And she placed 3rd in the 5 kilometers race. And we have the bronze medal that hangs in over South Sudan as a trophy for our achievement. So coming all the way to one of the malnourished children to one of our biggest athletic stars, that is a really big fit. So in our next slide, we can see, I will highlight Mary, another Mary, who was a community beneficiary with our project. One, she was working as a casual laborer, and 2, she received seeds as a beneficiary, as we often do give compensation in monetary terms, and we have seeds for them to grow at their own farms. So while Mary was part of the over 100 casual workers in the farm during that production period, Mary also happened to produce over 500 kilograms of sorghum from the seed she got from the institution, some of which she sold and supported her family. Her oldest daughter was in school, and she paid school fees with some of that money from the proceeds of the sale of the surplus. So while our farms are different, they're also quite similar. The one in Sudan and South Sudan. So 90% of the casual labor in 2023 was provided by women. And, similarly, we only have 6 months to farm annually in the 2 locations due to the extreme weather conditions. So, and when I'm talking of extreme weather conditions, it's when it's hot, it's really hot. And one of the reasons extreme heat occurrences led to a nationwide school shutdown for 2 weeks in March of 2024. And when it rains, it really pours because we have sometimes flash floods in the areas. So due to these activities, we have some challenges that we are trying to mitigate in our operations. So some of the biggest challenges is 1, lack of provisions, and 2, lack of knowledge. How we're trying to mitigate these 2 is by training the community through our farmer field school, to ensure that the community receives agricultural and nutrition training, which they will apply in their homes and hopefully pass on to the community. So we have a current cohort that will study for 9 months, and hopefully in the future, using this curriculum-based training, we can also bring in some of our graduates from our schools to participate, because not all of them make it to colleges. So it has really been a feat to have the privilege of witnessing this firsthand. Since I joined Lift Up the Vulnerable, I have seen a great impact on the children's mental, spiritual, cerebral, and physical growth at all the centers, because here they receive education, they receive nutritious meals, they receive safe housing, mentorship, and also spiritual guidance and counseling from the staff and pastors. So it has been phenomenal to witness these changes that, the old and new recruits go through, from young, afraid children to well-rounded children who thrive in the centers. And, having seen these afraid children thrive and start dreaming about futures, wanting to be teachers and doctors and farmers, and having an impact on their communities, I cannot express enough how wonderful it has been. I have also seen the dedication of my fellow colleagues, in Kenya, in the US, and most especially the ones on the ground in Sudan and South Sudan, to ensure that these children do not lack anything to empower them and help them thrive. What inspires me mostly about the work that we do is it's actually very tangible. And Audrey mentioned this at the beginning of her presentation, where in our impact report, we have 565 children who are safely housed, and 1,374 have been educated. So beyond the lens of the children, we cannot forget the staff. We have the staff in education, administration, kitchen, agriculture, housing, and protection, who are also economically empowered through the gainful employment provided by these centers. So with over 80% of our staff being Sudanese and South Sudanese, they are able to provide for the immediate and extended families, again, reducing the risk of exploitation and trafficking. And without the income from their jobs, their communities would have been left more vulnerable than they are. And, when it comes to food insecurity and other forms of harm. So, and all this has been achieved through your generosity. So we're really grateful for that. And thank you, Audrey, that you take it away.
Thank you so much, Pauline. That was really helpful and really informative. I loved all the beautiful photos of the kids and the food. It was a delicious lunchtime presentation. So thanks for that. And we know that we appreciate your time and know that some of you might have to go back to work or a meeting. So thanks for spending this past 45 minutes with us. For anyone that can stay on, if you have questions, please start entering them into the chat and we'll answer as many as we can. And we'll finish up in the next 10 minutes. But wanted to just give a few, as we wait for you to ask some questions, we'll give some updates about what's coming on the horizon. So this year, looking ahead, we're looking to expand our farming at all locations, and Pauline is a real integral part of that process, and Rise Against Hunger, our partners. So we're creating a strategic plan for New Life Ministry, which is our newest farm. It's the only center we're not actively doing farming at, but last year we were able to secure about 23 acres of farm land. So this year is when we start preparing that land and preparing a strategy for how to do farming development in that region. And we're also looking to expand infrastructure and development at each of our schools. If the security levels in Sudan remain amicable, we will continue to deepen our school development through growing, building our I think it's about 8 classrooms at Our Father's Cleft. We have some wells to drill and latrines and other renovations for existing buildings that we want to accomplish this year and over the next 2 years. We also want to deepen our holistic and community-centered empowerment programs. We have a pastor's training and medical missions team, and Dr. Joan Perry is heading back. So if you think it's a good trip, we have repeat offenders, and we appreciate Joan for being a part of that. The goal of the pastors and the medical missions team is really to equip local leaders. So they're going for a short time to build up the community members in those regions and provide skill sets or training opportunities that just aren't available. So this is a real good way of growing a movement towards empowerment and transformation. And we hope to recruit approximately or over 120 new children in our programs this year. We have space to accommodate that many. And one of the ways that you can help us make and achieve these goals and continue celebrating what we've been able to do is help get the word out about Lift Up the Vulnerable's work. One way to do that is through a program called Love Strong. And I'm going to share a link, 2 links in the chat right now that you can go and follow. Love Strong is a real great and simple way to strengthen the children in our programs in Sudan and South Sudan by taking a journey, a personal fitness journey of your own to strengthen yourself. So it's a simple way to get involved, raise awareness, raise resources by inviting your friends and family to participate. There's a link there, and Sasha Nicole, who's our advancement officer, is on this call now, and she'll be happy to share more with you if you'd like to learn. Another way is by joining the Love Collective, which is our global monthly giving program. And by joining the monthly giving program, you help us equip the local leaders to address the root causes of exploitation. So you're helping provide that monthly support that is really required to advance the needs of the organization and the kids that we're equipping and empowering. So it's a really great way to participate. And of course, praying and helping raise awareness in your communities in other ways. And if you're interested in doing any of that, we're happy to accommodate and give you ideas. And you can add a name, send us an email at info@liftupthevulnerable.org or enter in chat if you'd like to learn more, and someone will follow up with you. And I'll end, since there's no questions right now, I'll end with a prayer. And this is a prayer that I find very meaningful. So please join with me in both living it and in the praying of it. Oh God, we didn't see them, but you did. The hundreds and thousands of human beings trafficked each year to join the millions who are trapped in modern-day slavery. Under terrible conditions, they work in factories, plow fields, harvest crops, work quarries, fill brothels, clean homes, and haul water. Many are the children with tiny fingers for weaving rugs and small shoulders for bearing rifles. Their labor is forced, their bodies are beaten, their faces hidden from those who don't really want to see them. But you see them all, God of the poor. You hear their cry and you answer by opening our eyes and breaking our hearts and loosening our tongues to insist no more. Amen. Thank you for being a part of this. And thank you for the impacts you are making.
We actually have a question, Audrey, right there from Trisha.
Oh, okay, great. Trisha, I'll answer that. But if you have to go, thank you for being a part of this. And thanks for sharing your lunch hour with us. Would you say that the majority of Sudan's people have access to the gospel or know the gospel? Pauline, do you have any data on that? Do you know?
Well, I don't have specific data, but I know in Sudan, there's a vast majority of them are Islam, but we also have, for instance, in the Nuba Mountains, there's a very high population that is Christian-based, and most of South Sudan is Christian-based.
However, Christian persecution in Sudan is a reality. In Sudan, and most of the country is traditionally operating under Sharia law. And so that's one of the things that we had hoped would be different when the new government took place, that there would be freedom of religion in the country, but then it dissolved once the chaos erupted. So there were steps forward and then now a lot of steps backward. Very good. Well, thank you all. Thanks for being a part of this, and we'll be in touch in the future. Take care.